When you do something that impacts the life of a child, it impacts an entire lifetime. We started Camp Del Corazon after I had an experience with one of my patients. One of the first patients that was really my own patient. He was referred because of abnormal heart rhythms, and I saw him because the person who normally would do that wasn't available. And he had a heart problem that involved one of the valves of his heart. It had become so severe and was causing his heart to work so hard that it had started causing arrhythmias. And in looking at the whole picture, over the last 2 years, he had gone from being able to go to school to being homeschooled. He'd reached the point where he couldn't walk from the car to his house and had to be carried. And it was really not because of his arrhythmia, but because of the valve that wasn't working well. And I told his parents I thought he needed surgery to replace the valve. They were very concerned about open heart surgery, about how long an artificial valve would last, about how well he would tolerate surgery being as weak as he was. But I explained to them all of the things that were involved in surgery and convinced him that it was the right thing to do. And he had the surgery and he did very well. And everything looked very good and I was very pleased. And it was one of the biggest impacts I'd ever had on a patient. And I was very proud of myself for having done this. And I went in to examine him and asked him to take his shirt off so I could listen to his heart. And instead of taking his shirt off, he put his elbows inside his shirt and held it out with his elbows. And so I put my stethoscope under his shirt and I listened to him. And then I asked him, "Are you self-conscious about taking off your shirt? Does it embarrass you to have a scar?" And he said yes, and wasn't very forthcoming. So I asked him, "Is that because people tease you at school?" And he said, "No, no one's ever seen my scar at school. Only my best friend has seen my scar." And his mother piped in, "I haven't even seen his scar for more than a year." And it was very disappointing to me to have done what I thought was so much for this child, yet left him with something that marked him as different from everybody else and impacted his life in such a dramatic, daily way. And so there was a camp for children with heart disease in Louisiana. It was the only camp at the time that I knew of for children with heart disease. And I explained to his mother about how I thought it would help him to meet other children with heart disease and see their scars and not feel so isolated. But she wasn't willing to let him go all the way to the other side of the country and to get on a plane because they would only pay for his plane ticket. And she still was having trouble getting used to the fact that he didn't need to be carried from place to place anymore. So she wouldn't take the information, she wouldn't even consider it. So I had all this information sitting on my desk when one of our nurses, Lisa Knight, came in, and she knew this young man from when he'd been in the hospital and asked me about this information. And I explained to her about the summer camp for children with heart disease and how this young man wouldn't go because it was too far away. And she looked at it and she looks at me and she goes, "Well, we can do that." And his mother wrote me an email and said, "You brought back a different child. You brought back a child who holds his head high, a child who looks forward to the rest of his life, someone who doesn't look forward with fear to what he's going to have to go through, someone who sees himself succeeding." And that really hit home. That's what this is about. It's giving children a different outlook on what their life will be like. It's giving them role models to the adults with congenital heart disease who come. It's giving them other children who can help them through the harder experiences. It's letting them know that they have friends who know what they're going through.